Good evening, everyone. I am CA Sarika Deshpande Dindokar, moderator of this webinar. We are delighted to welcome you all in this webinar being organized by CCLEA and NPO Committee of ICAI. It is my pleasure to be a moderator in the webinar of professional opportunities for CAs in online dispute resolution ODR on 7th November from 5 to 7 p.m. being organized by Committee on Commercial Laws, Economic Advisory and NPO Cooperative of ICAI. In a short while, we'll start this webinar. I would like to apprise you about the CCLEA and NPO committee. This committee is focused to encourage chartered accountants to shape strategy and policy that unlocks economic, financial, and social value while combining analytical foresight with commercial acumen. One of the core areas of this committee is to serve the multifunctional task of analysis, knowledge dissemination, inputs to regulators on policy formulation, to develop and publish technical guidance, background materials, so on and so forth, and to create awareness for professional opportunities for chartered accountants in commercial laws, economic advisory, and NPO cooperatives. Our eminent speakers will talk professional opportunities for CA in online dispute resolution ODR in this webinar, and we hope that the same shall be useful to the members. Now, I would like to introduce our today's session speaker, Kanchan Gupta, co-founder of Cadre ODR. A seasoned leader with over 2 decades of experience, Kanchan Gupta brings a unique blend of IT expertise and business acumen to Cadre ODR. Holding a bachelor's degree in electronics and communication from PESIT Bangalore in 1999, Kanchan has navigated a broad spectrum of roles including IT services and consulting, program management, digital transformation, and entrepreneurship. Under her visionary leadership, Cadre has pioneered the online dispute resolution space, making justice accessible, efficient, and cost-effective for all. Kanchan's passion lies at the intersection of legal technology, business innovation, and technological advancement. She is committed to leveraging technology to streamline complex processes, democratizing access to justice, redefining industry standards, enhancing user experiences. As a trailblazer in ODR, Kanchan is dedicated to expanding the possibilities of legal technology, blending legal acumen with technological prowess to create a more just and efficient society. Kanchan has been conducting sessions on ODR for ICAI for a while and is today going to speak about professional opportunities for CA in ODR from her experience of running one of India's leading ODR company from last 5.5 years. We are happy to have you here on this forum, Kanchan ma'am. Now I request Kanchan to start the session.
Thank you so much for that very nice introduction, Sarika. Thank you, Mayank, for coordinating all the scheduling, and thank you to everyone, ICAI as well as CCLEANC for organizing this session and making sure that ODR reaches to a wider audience. So thank you so much for that opportunity. Before I start my session, Sarika, I just have a quick question to either you or to tech support.
Yeah.
Is there a way for me, is there a way to interact with the audience, or is it largely going to be a one-way session? Just wanted clarity on that so I can tune my presentation accordingly.
Ma'am, I'll clear that. We are not allowed to unmute the participants, but they will put their questions in the Q&A box, and in the later part of the webinar, we can have them.
All right. Got it. No, I just had a few slides where it was meant to be interactive, so I will just handle it accordingly.
Sure, ma'am.
Got it. All right. So a very good evening to everyone. Please allow me a minute to share my screen so we can get started. All right. Can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Clear, ma'am.
Great. Fantastic. And thank you so much for this opportunity once again. I'm here today to talk about, what are the professional opportunities for CAs in online dispute resolution. So before we get started, even on online dispute resolution, I just want to, I'm not sure, how the group is with terms of understanding what exactly is online dispute resolution and in what context it comes. So I'll give some background and then, kind of deep dive into the professional opportunities. All right. So to begin with, I want to just highlight about some of the things, 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, did you ever imagine doing these things online or digitally, right? Some of the examples are shopping for groceries, right? Uh, Learning online, filing taxes online, getting a loan. You can get a loan in 5 minutes, it seems. Verifying your identity, shopping for clothes, shoes, cosmetics, all of these things. I mean, can you even imagine that, at 10 years ago, did you think that these are all things one day I'll be doing online from my desk without moving out of my home? No, right? But here we are, and this is how technology penetration has been, with how deep it has gone into our daily lives in what we do, right? Now, let me give you one more perspective to this entire thing. Hold on to this thought, all right? Uh, so, if you look at the overall industries, right, that are happening in India and across the world, I've taken two examples over here. One is digital commerce. So, as we all know, digital commerce is going up and up and up, with all kinds of commerce happening online. It started with e-commerce. It has so much so moved to quick commerce. There is health tech, there is ed tech, there is med tech. I mean, you name it, and there is commerce online, e-commerce online for everything. In 2024, the transaction value is projected at a whopping US $211 billion. I mean, that's a huge amount, right? We are talking of 837 million users by 2028. And given so that's the digital commerce side. So another example is fintech, right? Fintech, again, in the last 5 to 7 years has grown at an exponential rate. So in FY 22-23, 7.1 crore loans were disbursed, and the 90 plus day delinquency in some of these loans are at about 4% and 2% and 4% for the different kind of loans, right? So given that there are 7.1 crore loans that are given out, 4% is a huge amount. Now, all of this, from the time you discover something to buying to closing the deal, we are all doing it online today. But the moment it comes to dispute resolution, everything comes to a grinding halt, right? And why is that? So let me give you some background on the issues in this space. So in 2022 alone, 1.26 lakh consumer cases were filed. The courts are backlogged with almost 4.4 crore cases, and this number is increasing. When we started doing Cadre ODR 5 years back, this number was at 3 crores, right? And according to a government survey of ease of doing business, for a loan of about 3 lakhs, or for a claim for a dispute amount of 3 lakhs, the resolution time in Delhi is as high as 744 days and 626 days in Mumbai. You were talking of 2 years and 1.5 years to solve a small dispute of 3 lakhs. And the cost of resolution? 31%, which means you're spending about a lakh to solve a problem of 3 lakhs. Now, all of this overall in the entire ecosystem does not add up. And the situation was that digital and cheaper business transaction were, actually still leading to physical and expensive dispute resolutions, which should not be the case. If business transactions are becoming cheaper, dispute resolution should also become faster and cheaper. So with both these contexts, what was the solution to all these problems, right? It is online dispute resolution. So technology had penetrated in commerce and finance and education and health, but legal and dispute resolution is somewhere that it was lacking, and it was becoming a roadblock for ease of doing business and transactions. And this was the birth of online dispute resolution. Now, the question is, what is online dispute resolution? And in very, very simplistic terms, it is nothing but the intersection of law and technology, both of these coming together, right? So what are the specifics of what online dispute resolution is? Now, as per the Indian law, there is a possibility to resolve disputes outside court, and there are legal methods. There are proper laws and acts for this. What we call as alternate dispute resolution methods like arbitrations and mediations. Using these, disputes can be resolved privately outside court in a very short time, and it was supposed to be ineffective when it started. What ODR does is takes these very well-known methods of alternate dispute resolution, marries it or leverages technology to make a faster, efficient, cheaper, and easier process. So the process, although is easier and faster and cost efficient, it is still a court grade process. It still maintains a complete legal sanctity under the Arbitration Conciliation Act and the Mediation Act. It is as legally binding as the order of a judicial court. So this is what, in a nutshell, what online dispute resolution is. So before I move ahead, I wanted to know how this audience understands about ADR, arbitration, and mediation. What I will do is spend a minute to talk about these methods so that we set the context for the rest of the session. So ADR is alternate dispute resolution, which is basically resolving disputes outside court. Arbitration is one of the ADR methods where two parties having a dispute may agree to go in for an arbitration, and they will appoint a neutral third person called as the arbitrator. The arbitrator plays the role of a private judge who views the facts and evidences of the case and comes to a conclusion or an arbitral award at the end of the case. That award is legally binding to both parties. It's as good as an order from the court. In comparison, what is mediation is another way of doing ADR. Mediation is a much softer process, less clinical than arbitration, where a mediator nudges both the parties to come to a settlement or an agreement by themselves. So a mediation could have a successful outcome where both the parties have come to a settlement, in which case the outcome is a settlement agreement. But it could be that despite the mediator's best efforts, they could not arrive at a settlement, in which case it would be an unsuccessful mediation, and parties can then choose to go for arbitration or other methods of dispute resolution. So just wanted to set this basic background before we kind of move ahead. Now, let's do a quick comparison of, what our traditional system is and how that kind of works, how that juxtaposes with the online dispute resolution system. Now, as you all know, when you have a dispute, I have taken three kind of journeys. The first journey, or the most obvious journey we all know, is that when a dispute happens, let's go to court. So when you have to go to court, what happens? You have to engage a lawyer, you have to pay a case filing fee, you have to file the case, you have to wait for your hearing dates, and this cycle continues and continues and continues. So you have an unpredictable endpoint. You have very high expenses, and you don't know what is going to happen at the end of it. It could take years, it could take months, and it is just largely stressful. The moment somebody imagines going to a court for resolution, it almost seems like the resolution is bigger a headache than the dispute itself, right? Now, the second option that one could do, which very few people knew about, and it wasn't as prevalent, is physical arbitrations, where your lawyer would suggest to go in for a physical arbitration. The lawyer would help you find an arbitrator. You would send the notice, via India Post or courier to the other party to participate in the arbitration. You would wait till delivery. There would be a need to align three people's schedules and physical proximity, that is the arbitrator and the disputing party, so that a hearing could be scheduled. Let's say the other party does not attend, then you need to have more hearings and more opportunities, more postal notices, and it would take a minimum, I'm telling, a minimum of 6 months to be able to close this process. So which means that it was a 10-inch high pile of paper that was doing the rounds. It was still very expensive because you still need a lawyer, you still need an arbitrator and you still need to be physically available at a particular time and place, right? And besides, not many people other than a few businesses knew about it. So it was slightly better but equally painful as going to courts. And this is where online dispute resolution makes the entire process seamless and easy. Right? So it is as easy as going to an app or a website, and you don't even need a lawyer to represent you. You can log a claim in, say, a single dispute, or if you have multiple disputes in a single click, the arbitrator is automatically appointed from the panel. The arbitrator puts out an order on the platform, and automated notifications via channels like email, SMS, etc., go out to the parties. So there is no waiting for post to get delivered and to come to know. And the parties can now participate from wherever, through whichever channel, audio, video, in writing, however they want to put forth their case, they can do that. And we can actually put out an arbitral award in as less as 45 days. So, this is the advantage of online dispute resolution. The cost comes down to almost less than 2% of the entire claim value. Now, we will talk a little bit more about the specific benefits of ODR, but broadly, this is a comparison and how it kind of makes for a more efficient dispute resolution process. So, while we talk about ODR, what is ODR? I want to give a little background about, ODR, how it was born, and, how it has reached till where it is today. So the first, sort of seeds or sprouts of ODR were actually in the US in about 2006, at eBay and PayPal was where the first version of a ODR system was kind of implemented, where disputes that eBay and PayPal got, they had an online platform where people could log their disputes there and resolve it. It was sort of like an extension of a customer service. And after that, slowly but steadily, ODR has been seeing an upturn. In India itself, before 2018 or 2019, the word ODR was not many people knew about it, right? So at maximum, the one or two people who knew about ODR, what they did was created a web page and put a list of mediators' names online so that you could see, and then you had to still write an email or call them to go through a physical dispute resolution process. So come to 2019, and that's when a few ODR companies sort of were born, and startups started coming up. In 2019, when we launched, people were still laughing, saying that, legal and that to justice and dispute resolution online, haha, how will that even work? All right. So, however, 2020 happened, COVID happened, and that acted as a little bit of a catalyst to online dispute resolution, because the first takers to online arbitrations were, uh, banks and NBFCs who had these debt recovery, who have a steady flow of debt recovery disputes. So they started running into more of these disputes, and they had no option but to go online. So that gave impetus to the ODR industry as a whole. What happened around 2020 was also that 2020, 2021 was Niti Aayog got involved in this. Some of the Supreme Court judges and ex-CJIs also got involved, and they drafted a sort of a draft policy for online dispute resolution, and an ODR handbook was also launched in 2021. So 2021 is when the adoption actually, started seeing positive scale. So much so that digital public goods companies like ONDC, Accounts Aggregator, all of these, started building their ecosystems and their platforms with ODR pre-built and not as something that they thought of later. And when these conversations started happening in 2021, and by 2022, all of these integrations went live. And for the first time ever, the World ODR Forum happened in India. And by 2022, there was no more about why ODR. It was only about, okay, what can we do to make the process even faster? What can we do to make it even cheaper? Which is the best way to go ahead? What are the regulatory, tailwinds that are pushing this? So those were the conversations that started to happen in 2022. A landmark move happened in 2023 when SEBI actually launched ODR for all investor disputes in July, as per a circular in July 2023. That really set the trend for ODR, and SEBI is one of the first regulators to do this across the world. So much so that in the budget that was put forth for by the Ministry of Law and Justice, 23 crores was provisioned for ODR alone. So that is the kind of impetus that ODR started getting. And, shifting gears to 2024, there are RFPs tenders being floated by the government. Department of Consumer Affairs was one such, where to build and implement an ODR system. MSME has put out, the MSME department has put out an RFP. There are a bunch of these departments that have come out with RFPs and tenders asking to build and implement an ODR system. There is a notification of a new arbitration act in which it specifically calls out for using ODR systems for conducting arbitrations. So this is how the ODR journey has been in India. Now, coming to ODR, so the question would be that, okay, what is it that sets ODR apart? What are the things that you do that makes ODR faster, cheaper, efficient, reliable, confidential, trustworthy? So here are some of the, things that ODRs do that make it what they are. The first thing is document management. You no more need to print and photocopy 3 sets of each document that you want to submit and maintain a file. All you need to do is scan and upload it online, and you're done. The system takes care of everything. So no more do you need to wait for an India Post letter to come to you, gets lost on the way, you didn't receive, somebody else received, all of that. Every small thing that is happening on the platform, there is a digital notification in real time that you're getting on a constant basis, so that you're always appraised of what is happening in your case. No more do you need to align so many people's calendars and locations to be able to do a hearing. Hearings are done online, via audio, via video, via a combination of audio, video. These meetings are transcribed, translated on real-time basis, so that the time is saved the arbitrator to make and to ensure that correct data has been captured. In addition, I think the most important feature, if you ask me overall, as someone who's built and run this, is what we call as an asynchronous process, right? So when I talk about asynchronous, what I mean is that in the past, or from what it's arbitrations or dispute resolution is a sequential process where you file your claim, then the arbitrator sets out a hearing date, then you reach the hearing date and you share your side of the story. Then the arbitrator figures out what to do next, and it goes in that particular sequence, right? So, which means that you have to give that time to each step in that particular sequence. Now, with ODR, what happens is that, the moment you have logged the claim, if you have anything else to share with the arbitrator, you can go at any time onto the platform or via an app or via email or via WhatsApp and submit your side of the story or ask a question at any point in time, and you'll get a response. The arbitrators don't have to wait for a day to put an order. They can put out an order in the night, you'll get it delivered at the same moment within seconds, right? If they have a question, they don't need to wait till the hearing date to put out the question. They'll put out the questions, the parties can respond at any point in time. So, this whole asynchronous way of working, has brought down the time and cost and increased the efficiency drastically. Some of the other things that make ODR efficient are, of course, we talked about translations. So, you have the ability to be able to put or type in a language of your choice. There are real-time transcriptions happening for meetings, so you don't have to make detailed meeting notes and then go back and put it somewhere. Ability to leverage digital signatures, to reduce the usage of paper. Most ODRs provide somebody called as a case officer who is there as a point of contact to administer the case start to finish. And the best part is that you can access and participate from anywhere, literally anywhere. We've had people taking hearings from a cab ride because they are taking a long drive between their office and home or something like that. So these are some of the features of ODR that make it what it is. These are some of the simplistic features that we've talked about. As the ODR industry is progressing, it is now also leveraging artificial intelligence or AI to make these processes even more efficient and faster. So, we can talk about that separately on how that could be done. So now the thing is that where can we use ODR, right? What kind of disputes can we use ODR? Now, first of all, the law itself lays down that ADR or arbitrations and mediations can be used for certain kind of disputes and cannot be used for certain kind of disputes, and that rule follows for ODR as well. So, for example, criminal cases, property right cases, uh, divorce cases cannot be done via arbitrations and mediations. For that, you have to go to court. All other kind of civil disputes, contractual disputes can be handled by ODR. So some of the use cases that we've handled and we've seen a lot of traction on, we've listed over here. So as I said, loan recovery, debt recovery, financial disputes, these really form a big segment of the disputes that come to us. Contractual disputes, the contract could be between a business, between two businesses, between a business and an individual and a business, two individuals. Either which way, if the agreements of that contract or the clauses of that contract are not met, a dispute could be raised and that could be solved via ODR, right? Securities markets disputes. We already spoke about investor disputes, service delivery disputes. So let's say that you're a chartered accountant and you have provided annual tax filing service to a client. However, the client has not paid you for their services, right? And they're repeatedly you're following up, but they're not paying. Just adding a simple clause in your invoice saying that in the event of a dispute, we will conduct an arbitration as per the Arbitration Act by a sole arbitrator, either appointed mutually or by an ODR like cadre, you or by the court. Either which way, you can actually start using ODR for your dispute. So that is an example of a service delivery dispute. Employer-employee disputes, issues with, employees get assets from companies, they run away with a laptop, phone, or data breach, or, the employers have not processed the full and final, or there is, there's been an unfair dealing. So all of these disputes can be handled online. Disputes between marketplace or platform participants. So example of that is, let's take Amazon, right? Now, between the sellers and buyers, there could be dispute. There could be a dispute between the sellers and Amazon itself, right? Those kind of disputes. Now, Amazon also provides something called as seller services, like, creating a logo, creating a banner, and all of that. So there could be a dispute between the Amazon seller and the seller service provider. So all of these disputes can be easily handled by ODR. Rental disputes. We've done tons of these, any housing, commercial, rental, everywhere you have a rent agreement, inserting a small dispute resolution clause can bring it to ODR. Marital and family disputes. So when we're talking about marital disputes, we're not talking about divorce, but more around settlements, more around arriving at a settlement agreement so that your divorce proceedings itself become easier in that event. And family disputes could be related to inheritance or property or any of those things, and those can be handled. Network disputes. So when I talk about network, I mean things like the account aggregator system. If you all are aware, account aggregator is a entity launched by RBI a few years ago, where somebody can give consent to use the user's information for some other service. For example, I as a user can give consent to the bank, let's say HDFC Bank, to give my information to, let's say, an NBFC like Tata Capital, so that my loan disbursement process becomes uh, smooth. Or my credit card, if I'm applying for a credit card somewhere, that process becomes smooth because directly the bank can communicate with the other entity. So on this kind of network, there could be disputes. And I could keep adding, many use cases to this. There is a huge world where ODR can be used, but these are primarily the ones that we are currently seeing. Now, what are some of the benefits of the ODR? Having spoken about the features of ODR and the ODR workflow of how a dispute is resolved using ODR, I think the fact that it is super swift, is almost obvious by now. So we've resolved disputes in hours and days where settlement has happened because of frequent communication. As per the SEBI circular, every conciliation needs to finish within 21 days, right? So that is how low a time it takes to resolve a dispute. The cost comes down to less than 2% of the case value. It is fully online. It is government recognized. There is an opportunity for additional income and skill development for private arbitrators and mediators. The platform is inclusive. We want to make sure that people are that technology does not become a barrier, right? Technology has to be an enabler. So we talk about having an inclusive platform so people, it can be device agnostic, use of multiple languages, and using features like transcriptions and translations to benefit the proceeding. There has been a strong government push for unclogging codes. And I already mentioned about ODR included in the phase 3 of eCodes upgrade plan. It's already been adopted at a large, at some of the big entities within India and abroad. So it is only a matter of time till it becomes a way of life. So these are some of the benefits. Some of the other things that I'd like to mention before I go ahead is confidentiality, security, right? By the virtue of it being online and the fact that you need to have a unique login to be able to see your case or see your documents, confidentiality, security, transparency, all of these become obvious benefits of using technology for dispute resolution. So, having given you that background about ODR, that what is ODR, why is ODR important, and what kind of journey has ODR seen in the last 5 to 6 years, we'll now come down to the crux of why we are here today, and that is about online dispute resolution professionals, right? Now, first of all, let's kind of talk about what do you mean by ODR professionals, right? In the most simplistic form, ODR professionals will play the role of either an arbitrator or a mediator or conciliator. this is who ODR professionals are, right? And we've already spoken about who arbitrators and mediators are. So, I won't get into more details about that. So, these are the people, these are what ODR professionals are called. They either play the role of an arbitrator or they play the role of a mediator. Now, the next question would be that, okay, I want to be an arbitrator or mediator. What does it take for me to become an arbitrator or a mediator with an ODR company? Right. So we'll start with the first thing. The first filter is qualifications, right? So the law itself has not prescribed that only certain kind of people can become arbitrators and mediators. It's fairly open on that front, right? But however, that said, because this is a sort of a specialized field, we do expect that people who want to become arbitrators and mediators understand how agreements, contracts, the world of business, how transactions work, what is a give or take, understand broadly how some of these things work. And the most important, non tangible qualification of an ODR person is having the right moral compass by maintaining objectivity. I think that's the most important part. So this is what it is broadly. So there is no prescription by law. So anybody can be an arbitrator and mediator, provided they come with the second and the third point that I have mentioned over here. So who are some of the ideal kind of people who can become ODR professionals? So lawyers, I think, because they understand the law, because they understand contracts and agreements, they become an obvious choice to become arbitrators. Chartered accountants are an ideal use case for arbitrators because chartered accountants and company secretaries deal with lot of transactions, understand how businesses work, understand how transactions work, understand how agreements and all of these work, and understand the financial aspect of every transaction. So therefore, they make for excellent, choice for arbitrators and mediators. We have retired professionals, retired bankers, retired teachers, all of these people who are looking to have an easy but still want to be intellectually engaged even after their retirement. They form a very good candidate for ODR professionals, bankers, CXOs or ex CXOs. And then there is a huge pool of women who've had to take a break, due to whatever reasons at the middle of their career, but are now looking to get back, but don't want to do a full time aggressive, corporate kind of job, but still want to be intellectually engaged and productively engaged and have an income. Those people also form for very good candidates for ODR professionals. So these are some of the base qualifications. What I want to also talk about here is in terms of years of experience. Now, as you might understand by the nature of the job, this requires a certain amount of maturity and objectivity. So, we do not believe that somebody who has just passed out of college with very little experience would have the maturity or the worldview to be able to be solid arbitrators and mediators. So, at Cadre, at least we say that, come with at least minimum 5 years of work experience. So, you've seen the world, you know how things work, and you have the maturity to be able to differentiate between facts and stories and those kind of things. So that would be the qualifications in terms of years of experience, and we have people going up to 50 plus years of work experience as well. So that's really the range. Moving on. Yeah. So now that we've come to qualifications, what are some of the important traits or skills that are required in being an ODR professional, right? And I've spoken a lot about understanding of commercial relationships. So this is what I talked about, how a transaction works, what are the things that can go wrong in a transaction, and what has actually gone wrong, why is it gone wrong, understanding that kind of having that worldview is an important trait. Some basic legal and accounting knowledge. You don't need to be a lawyer, and you don't need to be quoting the CPC or any of that. We have a lot of CA, CS, and non-lawyer arbitrators on our panel, and they do brilliantly. And a little bit of accounting knowledge, because most disputes do have a, a kind of a money value at the end. So to be able to ascertain what that is, some basic accounting knowledge is important. Objectivity, to be not be able to be get biased by either parties, or not to fall in that, but to go very clearly in an unbiased and objective manner, looking at the whole situation and then providing a resolution. Extremely high ethical values. Now, the decision you take, I mean, you are like a judge, right? So the decision one takes can have a huge impact on the parties, especially the losing party. So it is very important to maintain extremely high ethical values. And, most ODR companies, especially at CADA, we do get a code of conduct signed, maintaining what these ethics are that we expect the arbitrators to follow. The next skill or the trait that is required is attention to detail. One has to be detail oriented to be able to go through the documents, through the evidences, through the answers, to be able to see that, cover the entirety of the dispute, and to make sure that when you're coming to a particular decision, you have addressed everything and seen it in its entirety, and not just doing a, overview and coming to a decision. Promptness. So when we are saying that ODR is swift, it can be done in 21 days. If the arbitrator or the mediator is saying that, yeah, I will conduct I have been assigned this case today, I will conduct a hearing after 2 months. That's not going to work, right? Or if you have already conducted the hearing and say that, yeah, I will give the award after 2 weeks. So those are traits that are not at all encouraged in ODR. So promptness, being quick, and time sensitive are very important in order to make this process efficient. We need people who are comfortable with basic technology. And when we talk of basic technology, it's Word, it's to use an simple internet based platform, which is like a little bit like a form, to be able to type, submit, click, few little things like that. So it's very important to have that sense of comfort with technology. Now, as an arbitrator or a mediator, you will be dealing with people. Some people will be easy to deal with. Some people will be difficult. Some will be honest. Some will be dishonest. Some will give you out stories to kind of avoid the process. So, an ability to handle people and to see through, these things is a very important skill for arbitrators and mediators. And finally, and the most important part, your final deliverable as an arbitrator is the arbitral award, or an order that comes out of your letterhead. And that award is what will, if it gets challenged, it will go to a court. So, right? So it is all based on that award. You could have done 20 things before that, but it all kind of gets summarized in that award. So how you draft your award and orders so that they can withstand any judicial scrutiny is a very, very important aspect. Uh, so having understood that, do I qualify? Do I have the skills? The next question should be, okay, I have some of the skills, but I don't have some of the other skills. So can I get trained on them? Right? Of course, yes. So there are a lot of training programs out there today. And some of these training programs, especially on ADR, there are a lot of training programs that are run by, almost all law schools have an ADR wing where they run a program on either arbitrations or mediations or both. Uh, we are tying up with Chandigarh University and a couple of other universities to run specific courses on ODR. The ODR institutions like ourselves and the ADR institutions also run their courses time to time. where we train people on arbitrations, mediations, and how to conduct an arbitration online with your, with a hands-on experience on the platform, on using a sample case to run it. So there are many ways that these trainings are done by ODR and ADR institutions. For somebody who wants to become an arbitrator and kind of be deep into arbitrations, CII-ARB, the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, that's based out of the UK, it's like the PMP of arbitrations, where you can go take up courses, get certified. You can become an MCAIRB, FCAIRB. They have levels. You can do all of that, and that's like adding a little star to your cap. There are a lot of mediation centers who do training on mediations. For example, CAMP, there is something called as CAMP. They do a lot of mediation trainings. So you could take up their trainings to become a mediator. I know MNLU does a 2 year course on 2 year or 1 year course on mediation. So, that could be one of the options. So these are the various places where you could take up training programs to become ODR professionals. And finally, if you're looking to specifically become an arbitrator or mediator for the securities markets, then NISM itself has a list of courses and certifications that you need to take up. Once you take those up, the corresponding exchange, whether it is BSE, NSE, CDSL, or NSDL, whoever, will approve your empanelment onto their arbitrator conciliator panel, and you could then start taking up securities market cases. So there is tons of these programs available out there. So it's a matter of going through and picking up what suits you kind of best, from what knowledge you want to gain, from what skills you want to gain, how much you want to pay, how much time you want to spend. It is a function of all of these things. So that's how you can kind of get trained on these on becoming an ODR professional. Now the thing is that you say that, okay, I have the qualifications, I have the skills, I've taken up some training program to upgrade my skills. Now where do I go and work with all these skills, right? How do I actually generate work for myself, or where do I go? So ODR is highly prevalent across the world. Globally, there are 6 to 7 well-known ODR companies. Some of them are ODR.com, Immediation, Tyler, Abram. These are some of the global ODR companies. So in so many years since ODR first started in 2006 by eBay, till now there are about 7, 8 ODR companies in the world. I just want to say, and that is why the world belongs to India, I feel that in the last 5 years, more than 20 ODR companies have mushroomed in India. We keep hearing somebody new coming up every other day. There are 7 of these ODR companies that are doing a lot of work or in the mainstream, who are sort of known. And within that 7, there are about 3 or 4 top people whom you will see everywhere when it comes to ODR. So these are the people who've kind of established the thought leadership in the space. So some of these companies are Cadre ODR, COD, Prisol, Sama, etc. And one perspective that I want to give is that India is slowly becoming the ODR hub of the world. So if you all remember, or if even till now, right, whenever we talk of international arbitrations, everybody used to talk of SIAC, or Singapore International Arbitration Center. So Singapore, a few years ago, established itself as the hub of arbitrations. That Singapore is a place to go if you want to do an international arbitration. India is taking that over slowly with its depth into ODR, with the amount of technology innovation that is happening in India in the space of ODR. It's not happening anywhere else. And slowly, India is becoming the ODR hub of the world. Some of the international ADR institutions are beginning to use applications, platforms created by us to run their arbitrations and mediations. That is how far we have come in a very short period of time. So I continue to believe, and I tell this with full pride that I think this decade and the next decade belongs to India and the world. India is there to dominate the world, ODR being just one of those ways. So finally, it all comes down to the question that, yeah, why should I even become an ODR professional, right? What's in it for me, or what's in it for all of you? I think the first of all, the main thing for you all to know is that this makes for a fantastic adjacent career for you if you didn't know this already, because you have the basic qualifications, you have the skills, you have the experience. So it is a great adjacent career to start building for yourself. You can develop new skills. You can drive a whole new income opportunity because but because of the nature of studies and the work that that all CAs do, right? So you know the basics of law. You know how to, or if you don't know the basics of law, you know where to go to get the information. You understand how commercial transactions happen and what can go wrong and what is right and what is wrong. So I feel that CAs make for one of the best arbitrators that we have seen in our experience. The second thing is, of course, we are all here at the end of the day to see, if it can help us make money. I mean, we are running a business to make money. We've all studied so that we have a professional career to make money, to have a good life. So in terms of the earning potential, it could start from as much as 30 to 40K per month, where you're doing about 60 to 100, volume, kind of easy cookie cutter volume cases, with almost spending less than 10 hours a month. This is pretty much the starting earning point if you are able to get volumes. And it can go up to lakhs for very high value and very experienced arbitrators. So if you were to kind of do a case which is worth a few hundred crores, the fees is in lakhs, right? So the potential is unlimited. It is only up to you on how much time, effort, and where do you want to take this, right? And finally, the one thing that I didn't mention here, but I think is very, very important, is adding a new skill to your kitty. All right. So you're already great CAs. So, but with a little effort and a little training, you can actually become brilliant arbitrators and mediators. And that's a great skill and learning to add to your already existing kitty. And it is the easiest journey for CAs than any other career people. So if that is there, then why not? So, this is why we encourage a lot of people in this space to, move to online dispute resolution. And best of all with ODR is that, you can do it from anywhere at any time. You can do it from the comfort of your home, your office, from anywhere, because it is all fully digital and fully online. So here is where I'd like to take, I have said most of what I have to say, and I will take any questions if people have those, please.
Yeah, sure. I'll take the questions. I have received few questions. One question is from Bhaskar. What additional qualification training could come handy for CA in this field?
Yeah, so as I said, Mr. Bhaskar, you already have the basic skills, right? So in terms of additional trainings, if you want to become a mediator, we would recommend mediation. You need, a mediation training, which is about for 40 hours. Many people provide that mediation training. The one I know that is popular is by CAMP. I know something by MNLU. And there are many such trainings available out there. You could go and take up those trainings. In order to become an arbitrator, most of the companies like ourselves, we have our own in-house training program. You can sign up to empanel with us. We conduct a training program, a hands-on training program on it, and we handhold you for the first set of cases so that you can get fully trained on how to become an arbitrator on our platform. So those are some of the trainings, I would say. And there is because you already have the basic skills, the delta is really small. There's a lot you can also, that delta can also be covered by working on the job a little bit with some guidance.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll take up the next question. Is this considered as arbitration service, which is valid in the courts of law? This is the question asked by Vineet Jain.
Hi, Vinny. Thank you for asking that question. And yes, as I said, it is arbitrations and mediations. It is just that it is all fully digital and fully online, and it leverages technology. So it is valid in the court of law. We, for example, are listed in the Ministry of Law and Justice Department of Legal Affairs as one of the arbitral institutions. So and even in the Niti Aayog report, some of the ODRs are listed. The government itself, SEBI, has empaneled ODRs like us for arbitrations and mediations. So it is as legal as it gets. And so much so that they have actually put out a bill for a new Arbitration and Conciliation Act. It is out right now for consultation. And in that act, specifically, there are clauses added for use of ODR for conducting arbitrations. I hope
Okay,
that answers your question.
okay, yeah, thank you so much. The next question is how CA can start work in ODR? What is the process? I think this you have already explained, but if you want to explain a bit on this again.
Yeah, I think there are, as I said, there are multiple ways you can reach out to the ODRs themselves. You can write to them, go to their website. There is contact information. You could reach out to them saying, "I want to empanel." Each of them has a different process. So at Cadre itself, for example, if you go to our website, here you will find something called as empanel as a dispute resolution professional. If you click on this, there's a small form, you fill that, and then we'll take you through the kind of empanelment process. So you could reach out to arbitral institutions, to ODRs directly, and everybody has their own process for empanelment. You could go through that process and get empaneled.
So this is available on the Cadre website also.
For Cadre, it is available, and yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a simple form that you just need to go fill up, and then we put you through the process.
Okay, so there is an empanelment form available on the Cadre website, which you can refer, right?
Yeah. And I've, so that people can find it easily, we've put a screenshot and also mentioned where to find it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll take the next question. Indian courts have historically been reluctant to fully respect and enforce arbitral awards, especially in cases where they perceive the arbitral process to be flawed or biased. How do we address this going forward, even after ODR? This question is asked by Srinivas.
Srinivas, I think this is a brilliant question to ask. And before I answer this question, I want to go back a little bit, on how physical arbitrations were conducted till some time back, right? And physical arbitrations were mostly done by larger companies, right? Where they would say, if you look at some of the clauses, and I've seen these clauses, right? Some of these companies had clauses like, in the case of a dispute, we will conduct an arbitration by a sole arbitrator appointed by the management of the company, right? Already there is an element of bias because you're saying that my management will appoint an arbitrator, right? So keep that. So those clauses were being run for a long time. Second thing is, especially in the sort of the debt recovery space, few advocates used to take up, it was run like a factory, like an arbitration factory, right? From sending the loan recall notice or a, a PASA notice under Section 25 or whatever. From there, the lawyer itself used to run the entire process and give an award and sign it and give it. Right. So, and they would be doing thousands of cases for one particular NBFC or a bank every month. So some of these processes have got questioned, and which is why, because of the the way these processes were run, if you recall, in 2019 there was something called as the Perkins judgment, right? It was a Erickson versus Perkins case where the Supreme Court said that unilateral appointment of arbitrator is not valid, which means that one party cannot just say that this is the arbitrator, right? You can go to an institution and the institution can appoint an arbitrator, but you cannot appoint a sole arbitrator. The act also gives, it is open for interpretation, but the Arbitration Act does give a limit of cases for an arbitrator to do. All those things were not followed. So these were the reasons why some of these awards got challenged in court. Now, if you look at the law itself, there are 5 or 6 grounds on which an arbitral award can be challenged. So one is, of course, the fact that the arbitrator was biased and you are able to establish that bias. Second ground is that the arbitrator was not of sane mind, right? Or proper arbitration process was not followed, or the respondent did not know that this process was happening. There are only these four, and it does not contradict the any policies of India, right? So these are the only grounds against which you can challenge an arbitral award. So, as an arbitrator and as an ODR and arbitral institution, if you have followed the correct process, if you have made sure that the sanctity of the arbitration process is maintained, uh, no, if it even if first of all it won't get challenged. Second of all, if it does get challenged, it'll always be in your favor because you have done the due necessary work to make sure that the process has maintained its full sanctity. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so thank you for highlighting that following the process is quite important here. I'll take up the next question. The question is, can a CA with 1 to 2 years of experience take up arbitration conciliation after undergoing the training? This question is asked by Rahul.
Yeah, hi Rahul. Thank you for asking that question. We get that many times. Can you
Yeah.
do it? Yes, you can do it, and you're most welcome to kind of empanel. However, do note that uh, uh, being an arbitrator, you're making a judgment call, right? So it requires some amount of world knowledge, some amount of experience and maturity to be able to come to that. Now, we do not put age or experience as a bar because we feel some people are mature early on in their life, some get late. But to start with, you will get the lower complexity, easier cases before you move on to the bigger, better cases.
So there is opportunity for
There is
CAs with 1 to 2 years experience as well.
There is opportunity, but then they will require double the hard work because you'll really need to show that you have the those skills that are required. With some of these skills come more with experience. Some skills are inherent. So as long as you're able to demonstrate those skills and do what is required for the process, you're good.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next question is from CA Sachin Chalan. He's asking how practicing CA can get client for ODR service.
So, that's a very nice question. Thank you for asking the other side of the story as well. Practicing CAs are the most, are a great engine for generating work for ODRs because you work with a lot of companies, you work with a lot of individuals for their contracts, for their agreements. So telling them that, hey, if you're having a contract or if you're having an agreement or in your invoices, or in your rental agreement, please add a single clause. And I'm happy to share some sample clauses after this call. That in the event of a dispute, we will conduct an arbitration as per the Arbitration Conciliation Act, where the sole arbitrator is appointed by an ODR like Carder. You could name Carder, or you could name 3-4 ODRs, or however you find that, some version of that clause. when that dispute happens, then they can all come to us. And for companies, especially who have volume disputes, please make the connections. We can always, we will benefit from those connections, and you will also benefit from those connections.
Yeah, I think that would be beneficial for the CA community as well as the clients, which CA community is having. All those companies and corporates also will be benefited. So we would definitely recommend you to share those clauses
Yeah.
after this session.
Yeah, and we give at Carder, we give a referral fee for
Okay.
anybody who is let's say if any of you are putting us onto someone and they sign up with Carder, then we do end up giving a referral fee as well.
Okay. So I'll take up the next question, whether we can specialize as an arbitrator in a particular law of our choice and expertise. This question is asked by Soumya.
Yes, you can. I mean, within arbitrations, you have like construction arbitration or maritime arbitration, which is a very, very specialized skill set and specialized arbitrations. Security markets, for example, a lot of company secretaries are arbitrators and conciliators in the security markets, right? So, of course, you can pick and choose where you want to specialize in marital and family, or you want to specialize in construction, maritime, securities markets. You can pick, but those are some of the bigger fields. Beyond that, I don't think there are many other fields where you can specialize.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you want to pick a field where there is enough work. You don't want to pick up a field where, in a year you're getting 5 cases.
Right, right. So the next question is any license is required to provide ODR services? That I think you have already answered. This question is asked by Rajkumar.
So, I mean, there is no license process per se, but what we have as Carder, what we have ensured we have done is we have listed ourselves under the, Department of Legal Affairs, where they have a list of all the ADR and ODR institutions. So we are in that list. And that gives a certain trust to the customer or to the user, saying that, Acha, theek hai, it is coming from the government, so it's a trustworthy organization. But the law itself does not say it's not like a liquor license or like a CA, like you have to complete the CA exam to become a CA and all of that. So there is no such license as of now. However, there is something called as the ACI, or the Arbitration Council of India, that has been formed recently. And I believe that, they will probably put some processes in place going forward to kind of regulate this industry.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll take the last question. This question is from Sapna. What is the certification fee on CADR ODR for empanelment? Is there any kind of fees CADR is charging?
Yeah, at Carder, we charge, I think it's 2799 plus GST, which is the empanelment and the training program fee. So the way it works is, once you fill that form, somebody will reach out to you, laying down the steps of what the process is. You'll need to fill an NDA, pay the empanelment fee. Then there is an online training program. You go through the training program. We have an exam, 3-part exam that you need to take up. You need to clear that exam. And we've put pretty high benchmarks for that clearing that exam. Like you need to have 90% or more. That's because we want to make sure that people who are clear, genuinely interested, studying and clearing are coming. So you have, in case you don't clear the first time, you can take it 2 more times in a matter of 6 months. And once you clear the exam, you have to sign a code of conduct. Once you sign a code of conduct, you are on our panel.
Okay, so there is a process which can be referred on the Carder website also, right?
Yeah. So the process, so that you can just fill the form and then the process will come. These steps will come to you.
Okay, okay. I hope I have covered all the questions. You have some points to explain more?
No, I think I've kind of tried to put everything that we have kind of learned in the last 5.5 years. So, happy to, even if people think of something after the session, they want to come and ask. I've shared my email ID and phone number. Please feel free to reach out. But yeah, this is the right time to get onto the ODR bandwagon because it is only growing and growing. We ourselves have seen a tremendous growth in the last 2 years, and we are looking forward to a almost multiple X growth in the coming years. We are unlocking new sectors every year. So this is the time to please join and be part of this revolution.
Okay. So, thank you so much. Respected Kanchan Gupta ma'am, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of CCLEA and NPO Committee of ICAI, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our today's speaker highlighting opportunities for CAs. Today's seminar on online dispute resolution, a resounding success. As you rightly said, that the intersection of law and technologies have given rise to online disputes, and on behalf of CA community, we are deeply thankful to our esteemed speaker for sharing their invaluable insights and expertise on ODR, enlightening us on the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities in this rapidly evolving field. Also, special thanks for highlighting the opportunities for women CAs who have taken a break and wanted to come back can work in ODR. Your engaging presentation and Q&A session have provided our participants with a comprehensive understanding of ODR's potential to revolutionize dispute resolution. We appreciate the active participation and thought-provoking questions from our audience, which has made this webinar truly an enriching experience. I also specially thank Advocate Mayank Vasudev and all the technical team for their tireless efforts in organizing this event. Today's webinar would not have been possible without the collective efforts of our team. Thank you all of you for your active participation. And with this, we conclude this seminar. I hope that the knowledge and ideas shared today will inspire and motivate our participants to explore the vast potential of ODR. Once again, thank you all for your presence, participation, and support. And special thanks to our eminent speaker, Kanchan Gupta. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
Yes.
if you all have any feedback, please share it with your team. And I'd request the team to share it that what else would you like to learn or what else would you like to know? And we'd be happy to tailor our sessions accordingly.
Definitely. And I would also personally like to get in touch with you, Kanchan Gupta ma'am, regarding the ODR process and understanding the mediation and arbitration. So I'll definitely get in touch with you with the admin team.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was great speaking with you all. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye. Have a nice day.